We saw the gap in the market, and there's still a gap in the market in Europe. So we were like, okay, let's try.
Gap, the shoe brand.
Yeah.
Or?
No, we saw the gap. Like there was a.
Hello, everybody. Nice that you're watching again to this unknown series, where every week we give a spotlight to something in the unknown. And this week we'll have Paul with us. Paul, welcome.
Nice to meet you guys.
Here.
Thanks.
Welcome.
Noortje, you're also here.
Hi.
One of my colleagues. Nice that you're here. Paul, student at Global School for Entrepreneurship.
Yes.
Entrepreneur.
Yes.
Founder of SneakMart.
Yes.
What is it doing? Maybe just first to give it an introduction and then.
So SneakMart is a peer-to-peer streetwear marketplace where you can buy and sell limited edition items, either streetwear items like a hoodie, a pant, or also some sneakers. We are a marketplace. We don't own any inventory. We just do the middleman, and we included community-rich features on our app because that's like what drives the streetwear trend overall is social interactions. So it's kind of a mix between a marketplace where you can buy and sell and trade, and also just talk about whatever streetwear is becoming.
Cool. Before we go deeper into the global school, you just finished high school with this elite class kind of. You could have done multiple things. You could have gone to a regular university or anything, but you chose to kind of start your own business. Also, when you came back from San Francisco, you wanted to pursue that. I think it's also why you now are also in this different school than most, the Global School for Entrepreneurship. Where comes this drive from, doing different?
Well, actually, my entrepreneurial journey started I think, before high school. So my mom back then was working in Luxembourg, and cigarettes in Luxembourg are way cheaper than in France. So I started paying her to buy cigarettes, and I was reselling the cigarettes in my high school. So I was not really legit.
How much did you use on the way? Like
no, I've never smoked a cigarette.
Only trading.
I've never smoked a cigarette in my whole life.
But that's where the commission model starts, right?
Kind of. So that's where it all started, and then I started like working on a fruit market, selling veggies. I was 15 back then, I think, and I think that's when I really started to understand that you can make your own money and that you don't have to do something really common or regular, because I knew it was a risk, like going into entrepreneurship and software engineering, not in a regular school. But I also knew I could come back to a more normal thing whenever I wanted, because it's not like to sound like I'm pretentious, but I knew I could come back to a more regular thing and be above average.
So the worst that can happen, you end up at a corporate. And, but you're not at the moment.
No, I'm not.
So at the moment, you're at Global School for Entrepreneurship. So maybe to give a little bit of perspective on the Global School for those who don't know, it's a fully accredited University of Applied Sciences that offers a 4-year bachelor program on entrepreneurship. I think the unique thing there is that it's fully focused of running your own business.
Yes.
When you with Google as your best friend, you were in Paris before you started. You Googled entrepreneurship London, entrepreneurship Paris, and you hit Amsterdam. What was the thing that convinced you to go to Amsterdam, get a room, and start?
I really think like decisions sometimes are really black and white. It's either you do it or you don't. I went through the whole process of, okay, I want to change what I'm studying. I want to change studies. I want to study something into entrepreneurship, and I want to, it didn't really matter to me if it was in Amsterdam, London, Paris. I was like ready to move anywhere. And I was looking for something, that could bring me value first, with classes and coaches and experts. And then just like a proper environment and ecosystem of, I could have never met you guys without the school. There's a lot of other people I met, thanks to the global school. Just opens door, bring opportunities. It's not really about theory in the global school. It's more about practical, how to talk to investors, how to approach investors, what are they looking for, and have you guys on board was great because we got a perspective from actual investors and not just teachers, academical teachers that don't really know anything about investing.
And on the same moment in time, you work on your own startup.
Yeah, it's always related to the startup you are working on. I didn't mention it, but it's always related to the project you're working on.
And in this case, this is SneakMart for you. You always
Yes.
apply it to SneakMart.
Yeah.
And what SneakMart? What makes it unique?
There's multiple ways to buy streetwear.
Yeah.
Either you get it from the store, but it's really hard. You'd have to go through a whole process. It's raffles. Maybe you're gonna get draw or not. If you can't do that, then either you go on Facebook groups, you go on marketplaces, or you go on like eBay, more like traditional marketplaces. And so there's huge communities on Facebook, on Reddit, on Quora, on all those community platforms, but there's not for them a way to. They can only like exchange. They cannot really trade or buy and sell safely, and that's the bridge we want to
Trust.
get. Yeah.
So become the trust partner for them. And how come you moved into sneakers and streetwear? Like
so actually it was more it's more the story of my co-founder, because he's been into sneakers since he was 8 or something like that, like very very early on. He got one of the first pair of Yeezys, like it was a collaboration between Kanye West and Adidas.
Okay.
That's one of that's like a later pair of shoes, but
the shoes that are
those
laying in front of us.
Yeah, those are Yeezy 700.
The gray one.
Those ones, yeah.
Yeah.
There's Yeezy 700. That's the original colors. And so, but that released I think 2 years ago or a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The other ones released probably like 8 or 9 years ago. They were the first ever pair of Yeezys and Adidas. And so he got into that, and then at some point he couldn't find a proper place to buy and sell. So he was like, okay, maybe there's something to do there. And then I came along, and I was already like into sneakers, but we really matched on and clicked on the entrepreneurial and then also sneaker.
Yeah.
And back then we saw the gap in the market, and there's still a gap in the market in Europe. So we were like, okay, let's try.
Gap, the shoe brand.
Yeah.
Or?
No, we saw the Gap. Like there was a Gap is doing quite well now.
Yeah, are they?
It's a bit back on the in the mainstream, not as much as the other brands.
Yeah, because I'm not really into sneakers.
Mm-hmm.
To me, they're a nice looking pair of shoes. What is for you? What is the unique thing? Because they really turned into collector's items. People buy them for enormous amounts.
Yep.
Like
streetwear is pretty much everywhere. It's norm, I would say, among at least millennials. Streetwear even made his way into luxury and the runways. They are doing shows, based on that. That's a collaboration between Supreme and Louis Vuitton.
Yeah.
So even Supreme, like they always did a lot of collaborations between brands. With other brands, and finally that was like the peak of their collabs with Louis Vuitton. The bag now resell for like 4,500 euros, and the jacket is around 7,000 euros because it's so limited and it's Louis Vuitton and it's streetwear.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the first.
Is it still streetwear for you though?
Yeah,
it's comfy.
It's comfy. It's streetwear. It's luxury streetwear.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the last move streetwear made.
So you expect basically the market is growing, and you expect that it will become even bigger.
Yeah, streetwear kind of like moved on from just fashion. It's really a movement and like a cultural thing. So we even now have a collaboration between Off-White, which is a smaller label, but that work also with Nike, and IKEA. Who would have thought IKEA would do a collaboration with a streetwear brand?
Yeah,
that was kind of weird.
Because you see a doormat.
So that's a carpet actually.
Oh, a carpet.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you can buy it at IKEA.
So if you were lucky, you could buy it IKEA.
Back then.
Now, if you want to buy it, it's gonna cost you around like 1,500 euros or so for a carpet.
Yeah.
So
and because it was Off-White.
Because it was Off-White.
It's a joke. Keep off.
Yeah, keep off.
Yeah.
And they did also. They had like a green carpet and it says wet grass. It's the kind of the joke with Off-White. They always write on things. So people were literally camping in the street. You can see on the bottom left, people like camp for literally for days, for weeks maybe sometime.
In front of the store.
But isn't it also a little bit toxic for the whole streetwear if even big like commercial brands are going to deal with it and tap into it?
I'm not sure. One thing I know is that like people that work in fashion and in haute couture like Dior and Chanel, they say, oh, they should never do that, it's only bad for the brand, whereas actually 45% of the people that buy luxury nowadays are millennials and the younger generation. because it's all about status, social media, etc. So it's all about showing off, and that actually the best way to show off. Unfortunately, it's tough, and it's also part of the just the culture. We cannot really do anything about it, so we just have to make sure. It's a safe place. People don't scam each other.
Because I think that's also a big problem, right? All kinds of streetwear items that are fake. How are you addressing that?
Well, there's a lot of streetwear items that are fake. There always been, and we think there will always be. It comes from China. We cannot really do anything about what happened in China. The thing we can do is educate people, tell them this is what you should be looking for when you're buying a sneakers. Watch out for the price. If it's too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true. So it's more about like teaching them and like giving them knowledge about what is a fake, what is a real pair of shoe or item. There's a lot of things you can do about that. There's a lot of signs, like, I don't know, the stitching, the inside sole, the logo, like even just like this. Sometimes they spell it wrong, so it's
and the experts, they can see it.
Oh yeah, you can even just by the smell of the shoe.
Okay.
Usually that's how the
experts, if they have it in hand.
It's part of of them saying, yeah, maybe it's true, maybe it's not.
Okay.
But now they are so good at authentication that it became pretty on Facebook groups nowadays you can ask for a legit check, and 95% of the time I would say if people say it's a true item, then you can buy it safely. If they say it's a fake item, don't buy it, and that's about it.
Your big dream, maybe with SneakMart or personally, you're an ambitious guy, want to get the full potential out of yourself. What will it reach to?
That's a tough question, but my mom asked me that question, I think 5-6 years ago when I was 12. We're going on a road trip, and she said, yeah, what would you do if you had €1 million? And I said, I would just buy a boat and do a world tour. And I think that's about, that's the kind of dream I would want, having the freedom to, do whatever I want and not have to worry about money and things like that, and just being able to live my own life. And then it's kind of weird, but that's what I said back then, because I never worked really before. But now that I work and that I work on my own project, I like the process so much. Sometimes I'm am I ever gonna retire, or am I just gonna work my whole life? I think when you are the business owner, it's a bit different than just being working inside a company. You work on the business, so it's always finding new ideas, finding new partnerships, and I don't know, that's just really interesting. I think it's about meeting people also. I don't know, I kind of see it as a game, the game of life, and you never really end a game, so that's and if you see it as a game, working becomes much less work in a way. Doesn't feel like work. It's when you're playing a video game, you're not oh, I have to play 5 hours today. You just play and you enjoy it. And it's kind of similar, I think.
And in the end it becomes less stressful.
Yeah.